Hello everyone, and welcome to this video where I will be concepting a way for Symmetra 2.0 to be added into Paladins. Before we start, I want to give you all a little background on Symmetra, and more specifically her 2.0 version. In case you aren't aware, Symmetra is a hero from the game Overwatch. In Overwatch, the Symmetra you will find playable today is a radically different character from the one initially presented at release. See, Symmetra has had 3 failed iterations in Overwatch. My favorite version of the character, and the one that will feature in today's video, is Symmetra 2.0, who was present in Overwatch from December 13th, 2016 up until June 26th, 2018. While she was my favorite hero in Overwatch, Symmetra 2.0 was flawed. One big issue that Symmetra had in this state is that she was listed under the support category, yet lacked healing capabilities. Symmetra 2.0 was a jack-of-all-trades character, having aspects of a tank, support, and damage. However, many teams would be confused as to where she fits in a team comp. If you ran her as a support, you lost the healing sustain of an actual support. If you ran her as a damage, then you would lose the reliability of other, better damage heroes. Because of this, Symmetra 2.0 became notorious in the community for being weak and undertuned. Instead of addressing the problem Sim 2.0 had, the Blizzard balance team decided to not give Symmetra a single balance change. And then they trashed the 2.0 version of the character. Yes, I'm still upset about that. So, I decided to do 2.0 Sim some justice with this concept. Even though she was originally a support, for this concept, Symmetra 2.0 will be listed under the damage class. I'll try to have some 2.0 background footage if I can find it, otherwise you'll be seeing direct current Torvald on the screen. Okay. You know for my concepts, I like to talk the stats first, and then give my reasonings afterwards. As you all know, it's not so much the numbers that matter, but the principle. Let's begin with Symmetra's base stats. Symmetra will have the standard Paladin's health pool of 2,200. Symmetra's passive is Photon Shields. Symmetra's out-of-combat healing will activate 1 second faster. Symmetra's primary fire is the Noodle Beam, Photon Projector. This is an autolock beam that latches onto opponents and deals damage in a 35 unit range. The Photon Projector has a unique mechanic to balance its autolock properties, that being its charge mechanic. The Photon Projector has 3 levels of charge, and will gain a level for every 1 second of dealing continuous damage. At level 1, the beam will deal 300 DPS, at level 2, it will deal 600 DPS, and at level 3, it will deal 1200 DPS. The projector will lose a level every second while not dealing damage. The autolock on this beam will be limited to 180 degrees and will need line of sight requirements. The Photon Projector will have an ammo pool of 100, which it will share with the secondary fire. The projector will consume 10 ammo every second while firing. Symmetra's secondary fire is the Energy Orb. This is a chargeable projectile that will take 2 seconds to fully charge, dealing anywhere between 100 and 1100 damage. The orbs will pierce all enemy barriers and players. However, the projectile speed of the orb is very slow, only moving at 200 units a second. A fully charged orb will consume 20 ammo. Symmetra's first ability is the Photon Barrier. This is a 2000 HP elliptical-shaped shield that constantly moves forward at the same speed of most champions. The barrier will be destroyed instantly when it makes contact with the surface. This ability has an 11-second cooldown. Symmetra's second ability is the Sentry Turrets. From 20 units away, Symmetra can place down up to 6 Sentry Turrets that have 1 HP, deal 250 damage a second, and apply a 20% slow to a single target up to 30 units away. Multiple turrets can attack the same target. The cooldown for each individual turret is 10 seconds, and Symmetra can hold 6 charges of the ability. Symmetra's ultimate is the Shield Generator. When placed, the Shield Generator grants Symmetra and her team a bonus 500 HP in a 200 unit area. The generator has 3000 HP and can be destroyed by enemies. The Shield Generator's effects are permanent, unless destroyed by an enemy or manually detonated from Symmetra herself. Symmetra can manually detonate the Shield Generator herself, of which a portion of her ultimate cost will be refunded, based on the generator's uptime and current HP. Photon Shield's passive. In Overwatch, there's a special type of HP called shields. Shields function exactly like normal health points, except, unlike normal HP, shields will regenerate after the user doesn't take damage for 3 seconds. Paladins does not have the same type of shield health. All characters can regen their health after not taking damage for 5 seconds. Symmetra's Photon Shield's passive is a way to sort of mimic her shield health in Overwatch. With Photon Shields, Symmetra's HP will regen after 4 seconds of being out of combat, instead of the normal 5 seconds. This will be especially handy, since outside of a talent, Symmetra doesn't have many sustain options. Photon Projector. I know people are going to see an autolock weapon and immediately dislike this concept. I too do not like the current auto-aim abilities in Paladins. However, I believe Symmetra's autolock beam was the most balanced and least frustrating version of an autolock that I have ever seen. To compensate for its leniency, the beam hosts a short range and a charge time. I opted for a 35 unit range based off of similar stats via Overwatch. In Overwatch, Reinhardt, who has a melee-based primary fire, has a range of 5 meters. Symmetra 2.0 had nearly double that range at 9.5 meters. Now, in Paladins, Terminus, who is also a melee-based champ, has a range of 18 units on his axe. So, based off of that, I decided to almost double the range for Symmetra's primary fire, making it 35 units. Here is some footage in the firing range of what this range limit would look like. For the charge time, I decided to keep it at the 1 second per level, as it was in Overwatch. For the damage numbers being 300, 600, then 1200 DPS, I was debating on lowering the damage to try and better match Paladin's lower time to kill compared to Overwatch. But then I realized that in Paladins, there are a lot more ways to shut down a character walking at you, when compared to Overwatch. 1200 DPS is very high, but unlike a character like Victor, who offers 1350 DPS on his primary fire, Symmetra will be limited to a short range. Next, the energy orbs. I opted to speed up the orb's charge time and lower their damage when compared to Overwatch. In Overwatch, an orb would take 3 full seconds to charge up, which is ridiculously slow, especially since the orb itself moves very slowly and is easy to avoid. For Paladins, the same deal applies. The orbs charge slowly at 2 seconds and move very slowly at 200 units a second, just a smidge faster than Ceres' soul orbs. However, this is compensated in the fact that the orbs deal above average projectile damage and pierce players and shields. Because of the orb's overall sluggishness, Symmetra will be disincentivized to fight at longer ranges. I was debating on having the orbs move faster if they are uncharged, but I wanted this version of Symmetra to have a distinct weakness. There will be a talent choice to modify Symmetra's orbs, but we'll look at that later. On to the Photon Barrier. I tried to base the barrier's HP off of the current shield HPs from our frontlines and Vivian in Paladins. Funny enough, but most shields in Paladins have just barely more HP than the frontline wielding them, whereas in Overwatch, the barrier's HP can be almost 3 times higher than the tank wielding it. Anyways, for the Photon Barrier, I decided to have the HP sit at 2000. This is higher than Vivian's 1350 on her deflector shield, but lower than the average 4000 HP health pool of most frontline shields. I also opted to increase the cooldown by 1 second, because of cooldown reductions via allies, Chronos, and a loadout card. In Overwatch, Photon Barrier, when compared to other shields in the game, was actually considered to be quite terrible by the community. Because of its lower health and that it was constantly moving, the barrier was not very good at soaking up large amounts of damage. This did not make it a bad ability, however. Photon Barrier in Overwatch, and now in Paladins, will serve these functions: allowing Symmetra and her team to close in on enemies at range, buying time for your point tank while their defenses are down, bailing out a teammate who is out of the effective range of your front lines, cutting off sightlines against long-range enemies like snipers, and my favorite, blocking key enemy abilities like a hook from a Koa, for example. Sorry, I ranted, I love this ability. Last of the main abilities are the Sentry turrets. I wanted to keep them as close to their original counterparts as possible. So, in Paladins, Symmetra will have to deploy her turrets the old-fashioned way, by being near a wall. I don't remember the exact deploy stats from Overwatch, but I do recall the cast time being lengthy and that Symmetra suffered from a self-slow while placing a turret. In Paladins, the self-slow has gotta go, and the deploy time should be made faster. Fast enough so that you could throw down a turret in a pinch. I would list actual stats if I knew what they were in the first place. Alright, so the turrets damage and slow opponents. 250 DPS and a 20% slow won't do much on their own, but when paired with the slow and damage effects of other turrets, it can really add up. If all 6 turrets are attacking one target, they will be taking 1500 DPS, and will be slowed for 77%. While this sounds ridiculous on paper, in reality these situations won't happen often, due to the turrets dying from any attack. Even so, well-placed turrets will help Symmetra when dealing with flankers, who will be her biggest counters in this concept. And to wrap it up, is Symmetra's ultimate the shield generator. Yes, I opted to scrap the teleporter. I always found the shield generator to be the stronger and more viable ultimate of the two. Plus, I feel like in certain siege maps, the teleporter would be stupidly overpowered. Right, the shield generator. In Overwatch, this would apply 75 semi-permanent shield health to your allies. I say semi-permanent because the bonus health gain was dictated on you being in range of the generator. In Paladins, Symmetra's shield gen will have a 200 unit area. Here's some footage showing what that would look like. I was originally thinking of having the generator provide 750 bonus health, but I opted for 500 to reduce the frustration factor, as some champions, specifically flankers, will become super strong with a massive 500 HP boost. Of course the enemy will have the option to locate and destroy the shield generator, but in some scenarios it will be difficult to locate. In Overwatch, Symmetra was unable to destroy her own shield generator, something I'm opting to change for Paladins. When Symmetra detonates her shield generator, she will be refunded 50% of her ultimate charge. However, she will be refunded 10% less ultimate charge for every 30 seconds the ultimate has been active. Additionally, if the ultimate has taken any damage in the last minute, she will lose an additional 10% of her refund. If the shield generator isn't destroyed by enemies or Symmetra herself, it will remain in the map permanently. For this version of Symmetra 2.0, I intended for this concept to be a jack-of-all-trades champion. Players will need to have the mindset of all roles while playing Symmetra. Symmetra will excel in close-range combat. However, even at close range, Symmetra players will have to be mindful at all times due to her lack of mobility. Because of this, Symmetra will struggle at long range and against flankers who can outmaneuver her. She will be able to partially offset these weaknesses with smart uses of her abilities. And once her ultimate comes into play, granting her whole team of bonus 500 HPs will most definitely shift the scales in her favor. I think this version of Symmetra will be very fun to play. She will reward players who have knowledge of all 4 roles, and will also reward those skilled in micromanaging. Now let's move on to Symmetra's loadout cards. Same deal as before, stats first, explanations after. Beginning with the armor/weapons section. True potential. Increase your maximum health by 50 per level. Peak performance. Increase your maximum ammo count by 5 per level. Beauty in imperfection. Increase photon projector's range by 20% per level, while below level 3 charge. Rapid modifications. Increase the time you hold a charge level by 0.2 seconds per level. Now onto the energy orb cards. Company quota. Hitting an enemy with a fully charged orb decreases photon projector's charge time by 0.05 seconds per level for 2 seconds. Hardlight experiments. Heal for 50 health per level, over 1 second after hitting a fully charged orb. From the gutter. Gain 7% damage reduction for 1 second, 0.5 seconds scaling per level, after hitting an entity with a fully charged orb. Order in unison. Hitting a fully charged orb reduces the cooldown of Photon Barrier by 0.2 seconds per level. Next, the Sentry turret cards. Utopia. Increase the deploy range of Sentry turrets by 20% per level. Kathuk. Gain 1 ammo per level per second, while a turret is dealing damage. Hardlight Foundation. Increase Sentry turret's health to 200 health per level, but decrease your maximum turret count by 1 per level. Free Flowing. Increase your jump height by 250 units a level, while standing on top of a turret. Lastly, the Photon barrier cards. A new path. Allies who touch the barrier gain 7% move speed per level for 3 seconds. A better world. Casting Photon barrier reduces the cooldown of Sentry turrets by 1 second per level. Before the Storm. Gain 15% move speed for 3 seconds when Photon barrier takes 1000 damage, minus 120 per level. Boiling Point. Increase the speed of Photon barrier by 6% per level. Now, I always find loadout cards to be the hardest to balance when concepting for Paladins. Hopefully nothing here seems overtuned or useless. My goal with the cards was to avoid massive move speed or healing boosts, as an autolock beam character running at you and healing a ton will be super frustrating to fight. Onto the card explanations. True Potential. It's a standard health card. Most champs in the game have a card like this. Even though Symmetra will have access to bonus HP via her shield gen, I think giving Sim access to bonus HP with a card will be just as important as she's a close range champion with no mobility. Peak Performance. Again, another standard card that many champions have. This card gives Symmetra an extra half a second on her primary fire per level, and gives her up to 2 extra orbs if the card is level 4 or higher. Beauty in Imperfection. This card draws inspiration from buff ideas to the current Symmetra in Overwatch. I used to see many people suggesting that the beam should have more range at the lower levels and lose range when gaining levels. I personally am against this idea, for Overwatch. In Paladins, I think that functionality would be an awesome loadout card. At level 5, this card will double your projector's range, making it 70 units. I opted for the card to only apply to level 1 and 2 as a way to help Symmetra gain some initial charge. Her beam will disconnect when she hits level 3 if she is outside of the 35 unit range. Cause having Symmetra hit you for 1200 DPS from 70 units away will be a pain. Rapid Modifications. This is an idea from the current Symmetra as well. When not dealing damage, Symmetra 2.0 was able to hold a charge level for 1 second. With the new Sim 3.0, she can hold her charge for 2 seconds. I figured that this would be a fun card to incentivize dipping in and out of fights. Company Quota. For all the energy orb cards, you will notice that the effects won't take place unless the orb is fully charged. This is to avoid spamming little orbs in hopes of getting your card effects. Heatsink. For Company Quota, this card will incentivize a pseudo-flanking playstyle reminiscent of the actual Sim 2.0. Surprise the enemy with an orb and then punish them with a faster charge up. When capped out, the projector will charge a level in 0.75 seconds. Hardlight Experiments. This is Symmetra's only healing card. I opted for it to be on the orbs, since it will be the most inconsistent ability in Symmetra's kit. To incentivize players to use this card, I would opt for it to proc on every enemy hit with an orb. If the Sim player is skilled at hitting multiple targets, then she will be rewarded with some high healing numbers. With one of Symmetra's talents, I am a bit worried that this card will be overpowered, but besides that talent, I think it's fine. From the Gutter. Originally, I had the damage reduction be scalable but only kick in if you hit 2 entities with the orb. Due to the orb's slowness and one of Sim's talents, I opted to change the requirements to hitting a fully charged orb, but the damage reduction stays stagnant at 7%. 7% damage reduction matches a level 1 Haven or Blast Shields. While it's not a lot of DR, in some matches it will prove beneficial. I also opted for the time limit to start at 1 second to make this a decent filler card. However, the scaling by 0.5 seconds is to prevent the damage reduction from feeling oppressive. When capped out, Sim's DR will last for 3 seconds. Order in Unison. I ran out of card ideas for the orb, so I decided to do something simple for this one. When capped out, Sim will get 1 second off her barrier with every full charged orb. Rather than giving a flat cooldown reduction to the barrier with its cards, I decided that a Sim player should have to work for it instead. Hitting multiple enemies with an orb will be very rewarding as you will shave off a lot of time on your barrier. Utopia. Again, another simple card. When capped out, Symmetra will be able to place a turret up to 40 units away. Max this card out if you really want to get clever with your turret placements. Kathak. This card also had its numbers changed a lot, mainly due to the fact that it can proc multiple times if many turrets are attacking someone. When capped out, you will gain 5 ammo a second from a single turret, but if all 6 of your turrets are attacking someone, you will be gaining 30 ammo a second, which will completely offset your primary fire ammo cost. Since the turrets for the most part are easily dispatched, this card shouldn't feel too oppressive. Hardlight Foundation. This was actually my first card concept for this character. I figured that some players would get annoyed at the frailty of Symmetra's turrets. Of course, just upping the turret's health would be a huge problem, hence why you lose a turret for every level of this card. At level 1, you will have 5 turrets with 200 HP each. Level 2, 4 turrets with 400 HP. Level 3, 3 turrets with 600 HP. Level 4, 2 turrets with 800 HP. And finally, at level 5, you will have just one 1000 HP turret. Note that the turret's damage per second is unchanged with this card. They will always deal 250 damage a second. Even with the card, the turrets will still be very weak health-wise, as many champions can deal 1000 damage very quickly. Overall, I think this will be a very interesting card to play with. Free flowing. Jump cards are fun. What can I say? When capped out, Symmetra will leap 1250 units. Here's what that will look like in game. This card might actually have the potential to be super busted, but I can't stop laughing at the thought of a leapfrogging Symmetra trying to laser down foes in the sky. A New Path. This card is to reinforce Symmetra's jack-of-all-trades playstyle by offering a little bit of team utility. I opted for the high speed boost since it will be tricky to activate, and the fact that Symmetra can obtain the bonus herself. In coordinated play, I can see this card being very strong. A Better World. My intention with this card is for it to be used as a panic button when you desperately need a turret. When capped out, you will be cutting the cooldown of a turret in half. To be honest, I don't see this card being run much. Before the Storm. Like I said earlier, I wanted Symmetra's cards to avoid easy healing or speed boosts. So like the Hardlight Experiments card, I wanted there to be some kind of prerequisite before gaining your benefit. In this case, you will only gain the speed boost if the barrier takes a certain amount of damage. This card can proc multiple times based on damage dealt, in which case the speed boost will refresh. For every level of the card, the HP threshold for the speed boost is reduced by 120. When kept out, the speed boost will activate after the barrier takes 400 damage. As for the actual speed boost, I opted to keep it fairly low at 15%, due to it being fairly easy to activate. Last of the cards, Boiling Point. This card will allow Sim to more easily block damage at range, at the cost of the barrier's uptime. Let's wrap up with Symmetra's talents. Her first talent is Harmony in Machinery. Heal all allies within 20 units of a buildable for 100 health a second. The second talent is Numerous Updates. Modify your energy orb to charge 50% faster and travel 100% faster. However, orbs no longer pierce targets and have their max damage lowered to 900. And Sim's last talent is Quantity over Quality. Gain an additional charge of Photon Barrier, but decrease its health by 50%. Alrighty, let's discuss my reasonings behind Symmetra's talents. Harmony in Machinery. For as long as I've been playing Overwatch, there has been a section of the Overwatch community advocating for Symmetra to be an actual support with some healing capabilities. This talent will allow Symmetra to heal herself and her allies while near a turret or a shield generator. I opted for the healing to be fairly low, since Symmetra is not a support, and to double down on her not having too much self-sustain. The 20 unit range is a smidge smaller than Moji's 2 Cloud, which has a 25 unit range. Symmetras with this talent will be able to fully embrace the jack-of-all-trades playstyle by adding healing to their micromanaging list. Numerous Updates. This talent is pulled directly from the current version of Symmetra in Overwatch. While the orbs losing their piercing feature is super lame, having the orbs move faster helps a lot in their reliability. For Paladins, I opted for the orbs to deal less damage in an effort to not have Symmetra feel oppressive at range. With double move speed, the orbs will move at 400 units a second, which is just shy of Amani's fireballs. Actually, these orbs are pretty much a tweaked version of Amani's, charging faster at 1 second, but dealing 900 damage. Sims who pick this talent will prefer fighting in mid-range with their reliable projectiles. I foresee this being Symmetra's most picked talent. And last up, we have quantity over quality. While Symmetra with this talent will now have 2 barriers, they will only have 1000 HP, making them very frail. Sims with this talent will most likely take up a pseudo-flanking role since she has more effective cover. And that's my champion concept for Symmetra. Let me know what you think down below. Don't forget to clap that like button and laser down that subscribe button. Snatching the bell is also a great way to keep in the loop. As always, I'm YellowNinja, and peace.